Hi everybody, Lori here for Simon Says Stamp. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've got a couple of fun Halloween projects to share with you, or should I say Holla-ween. And I'm going to be starting with this Jack-o'-lanterns stencil. This was part of the STAMPtember release that just came out. And I'm going to cover this entire panel of Neenah Solar White cardstock with cute little jack-o'-lanterns. So there's two pumpkins in the stencil. One's kind of taller, one's kind of short and stubby. It was hard to choose because I do like both shapes, but I chose the taller one, and I'm using mini distress ink and the color Carved Pumpkin. It was a perfect choice. So I'm going to just try to, slide that stencil over and make sure it's like lined up. I'm eyeballing it, really. I didn't pull out a ruler or measure anything, but you can see that I did take some Post-it tape and mask around the sides of the stencil. That way I, only get the Carved Pumpkin ink in the pumpkin parts, because there's a lot of things going on in that stencil. And I actually, when it was all said and done, I did have a few little boo-boos. I got ink where I didn't want it to be, but that is what sequins are for. Embellishments are all about strategically hiding boo-boos. That's what I do anyway. I mean, if you can't hide a boo-boo with a good old sentiment strip, then you hide it with a sequin. And that is a little trick of the trade. Put that one in your back pocket, save it for a rainy day when you need it. Hide your boo-boos with sentiment strips and sequins. Everyone knows that. So, okay, now I'm adding some pumpkin stems. There's a couple of stem choices, shapes, and whatnot, and I used vintage photo. Again, you can see I put Post-it tape to try to, only get the vintage photo in the stem. Now I'm starting another row of pumpkins. You can see this time I'm staggering it, and that is because I like to live on the edge. So it just gives a nice feel. And I try to do the gradient, try to do a little darker at the bottom of the stem, fade it up into light. I mean, the gradient gives it that warm glow. It's like a hug, and this has a very warm, glowy feel to it. I love the way these pumpkins are feeling. They're like happy pumpkins. This might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I can't really do the scary Halloween stuff. I got to keep it like warm and happy. I have a highly overactive imagination. My family knows that we can't do scary movies because I'll be traumatized for a week. It becomes real to me, and I feel like they're after me. I see faces in the windows. I just can't handle it. So I got to keep it light. Keep it light for Mom. And so some of you might know this. We moved to Germany about a month and a half ago, and I don't think they celebrate Halloween. Maybe it is becoming more and more popular now. I don't really know. Like half the time, not half the time, 99% of the time, I really don't know what's going on. But I have seen a few Halloween things in the store, but they're not the kind that's really my vibe. It's more like there's like blood makeup and scary witch costumes. And I'm like looking for the real smiley pumpkins on paper plates type of Halloween. I would decorate for Halloween back home just like on the day. I can't handle it for very long. It's like a little bit, then get it out. Put it back in the tub, save it for next year. But even when I did, it was very, maybe I should say it looked like a kindergarten classroom. I don't know, whatever. You do you. So now for the sentiment, I am doing this Trick or Treat sentiment die. This is designed by Kathy Zielski. And I always, when you need a good sentiment, go for Kathy Zielski. She knocks them out of the park. I love her clean style. This one has it's got a script to it, but the or in the middle of Trick or Treat is straight up classic. So I trimmed this down, popped it up on a craft base, and then I've got my Trick or Treat in black and white. And here goes the sequins. These are from the Autumn Sequin Mix by Simon Says Stamp, and I strategically placed these to hide my boo-boos. And there you have card number 1. And now we're moving on to card number 2. This time we're getting crazy with the candy corn. This is the candy corn stencil again from the STAMPtember release. Now I was really intrigued to try this out, and I knew I had to do it on not white cardstock. It had to be something darker because the tip of the candy corn, traditional candy corn, is white. So if you want it to be white, you can't do it on white cardstock. So I thought, what am I going to do? Should I do it on craft? I ended up trying it on fog. So the middle section of the candy corn, I did Carved Pumpkin. The bottom part of the candy corn, which I just did, is mustard seed. And now I'm masking off the tip, which is going to be white. I pulled out Simon Says Stamp white pigment ink. And I am adding that. Now, this is not really a blend or a rub. It's more of a pounce. You kind of got to pounce that pigment ink in there, and you can see she shows up. It's subtle, but it's there. And I thought, well, you could go darker, but then your orange and your yellow might not be as vibrant. So you got to kind of pick what you want to do. Do you want the white to really pop on a darker cardstock? Then you might sacrifice a little vibrancy on the bottom half of the candy corn. You know, you got to pick and choose, you know. So at this point, I decided to just use scrap slices of printer paper to mask off, because I was realizing if I masked off each row, after a while your Post-it tape stops being sticky. And although I do generally in my card making life use an absurd amount of Post-it tape, but I do try to treasure it. So when I know there's going to be this much masking, I turned to printer paper, but it turned out beautifully. And now for the sentiment, I'm using this is an older, I think it's last year, Holla-ween stamp set by Kathy Zielski. And I love the holla in the ween. It's great, just like gives a little wit. And so I'm embossing the holla in white onto some black cardstock. By the way, I'm using Simon Says Stamp white embossing powder, and I take the coordinating die. Off camera, I run it through my Spellbinders Platinum die cutting machine, pop out the little innards. You got a nice little holla then. Now for the ween, to give it contrast, I'm stamping this in black onto white. So I use VersaFine Onyx Black ink on some Neenah Solar White, again using the coordinating die to die cut that out. Now I felt like it just needed a little something to kind of frame the sentiment amidst all of that candy corn. So there was a couple of cute little bats in the Holla-ween stamp set. So I'm popping this up, popping up the holla, popping up the ween, popping up the bats to kind of tuck them in here and there just to give it a little extra black contrast. And then I'm tucking in this little happy right in there, right inside the holla. So we got Happy Holla-ween. This is really cute. Again, I'm going to pop this up. This time I'm popping it up on a white card base. It was a good contrast since the candy corn panel is actually fog, so fog on white is always a good choice. I added a few more autumn sequins to finish it off, and these two Happy Holla-ween cards are finished. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.